There is a lot of lore hidden in the long dark, some of which is only recoverable when the lights turn back on. Across the coastline of Great Bear Island runs the Great Bear Highway. A long stretch of it, known as the Coastal Highway region, is the end of the line for the Briar House timber cut across the island and the home of many islanders. For this video, I will be exploring the buffer memories of the Coastal Highway region, including a mystery fisherman struggling to make ends meet, and Barbara Quincy, the Quonset garage attendant and the owner of Barb's Rifle. Before I continue, please make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep making these videos. File name, Log 9. Barren catch today. Winds picked up and turned offshore, so I had to come in early, as expected. File name, Log 14. Caught sight of another giant trawler today, maybe 10 miles off? Definitely American, but I couldn't tell you its home port. I bet they're busier than I am. File name, Log 856, Part 1. With prices as they are, it pays to fish, but only if I can get the damn things into my boat. The funding and supplies to refit they promised if I help with that fish survey don't seem to be showing up. At this rate, I'm better off them sending me chewing gum to patch up my dory. File name, Log 856, Part 2. With all the lines I put out today, I was happy to get some decent returns. Been a while since I put down numbers like that in my book. It's not anything like a recovery, but it lines up with the idea I've been having about the mainland fleet and their movements. File name, Log 856, Part 2. My ropes are fraying so badly, I don't think another repair for some of these lines are gonna do it. I wonder when I can expect delivery of the supplies I ordered. A sailboat without a sail doesn't do anyone any good. The mystery fisherman of the Coastal Highway left these buffer memories at the fishing huts area. The very first one tells us everything we need to know about the fishing life on Great Bear Island. The struggle was real, and that was expected. The second buffer memory tells of a trawler boat sighting, a much bigger boat compared to the sailboat the mystery fisherman was using. I find it interesting that they mentioned the boat was American, as in from the US. It makes me wonder how bad things were for the US compared to Canada following the collapse. They were both in the same financial crisis boat. Obviously, a bigger boat is going to make more catches, but does that make a difference financially? That is what the fisherman is wondering. The third buffer memory tells us something important about the fishing industry. It pays well. It's no surprise considering it was once a vital part of Great Bear Island's economy. From sardine canning to whaling, fishing in general was just as important as mining was back in its prime. They mentioned a fishing survey, which is likely an environmental survey by a conservation group. I wonder if this is related to the same conservation group working on preserving the wildlife of the Mystery Lake region. The survey promised supplies for boat repairs, but the fisherman was having trouble getting the fish in the boat. Since it seems like they were fishing alone, they were either catching a few large fish or nets full of smaller fish. Either way, it was too much for them to handle. The fourth buffer memory shows a glimpse of hope for the mystery fishermen. Not enough to get them out of the negative, but enough to make a difference. This must have been one of those rare days of good luck. They mention that this string of luck while fishing may be affecting the fishing industry from the mainland. If they are having bad luck in the waters around Great Bear Island, it must not be enough for them to keep up with demand. This may indicate that the mainland fleet avoids these waters, leaving the islanders to fish what little is left. These rare good days may be what keeps the fishermen from sinking into debt. The final buffer memory for the mystery fisherman shares another struggle of the post-collapse world. Supply shipments are rare, delayed, or the supply lines are disappearing entirely. Without vital supplies to repair the sailboat, they won't be able to fish as efficiently or at all. This is one advantage that this fisherman has over others. They have a sailboat while most of the other boats that we see on the island are small rowboats. Without the sail, they will be slowed down greatly. With supply lines struggling to get basic supplies to the island, it's likely that this boat's sail would go out of commission at some point. After this, we know nothing else about this mystery fisherman. File name, Barbara. 0 customers today. A new record. Just as well, the morning was better spent out on the docks with my binoculars. More and more ships passing, heading south. What will they find on the mainland, I wonder? A warmer welcome? Not likely. Word Processor Journal by Barbara Quincy. Garage owner, female, 62. File name, Barbara 2. Tanker truck finally made it down here from Up Island. Wasn't a regular driver, rather some guy they drafted into the job at the refinery, it sounds like. He couldn't say when the next trip down would be. It doesn't sound too bad, seeing as we don't get that many passing through these days. Bothers me more that the refinery's having trouble filling their orders. I can't imagine propane and heating oil are in good shape if they can't even ship out their gasoline on time. Even with more and more electric cars making their way out here, finally, we still need that delivery. File name, Barbara 5. Apparently, a small tree tipped over in the storm last night. It was leaning up against the side of the garage when I pulled up this morning. And what did I see walking around there? A wolf. I almost choked on my coffee. I left her be, and when I went out later, she was gone. Bill Farney stopped to fill his truck with some of his crew, and they were able to chop it up. I paid them in timber. Even now, the island sells a few trucks I haven't seen before. Folks at my old plant on the mainland would have lost it if they saw this. Barbara Quincy is the attendant and owner of the Quonset garage in the coastal town site. She is also the former owner of Barb's Rifle, which is found randomly within the coastal highway region with the Far Territory expansion. These buffer memories describe familiar experiences shared by Peter Good of the Orca gas station in Milton and Dan Presnell of the rural store in Thompson's Crossing. Barbara and the Quonset garage were also facing supply shortages and delays. More importantly, it refers to delays in deliveries from Up Island on Great Bear Island. This might be a good time to remind you, the viewer, that Great Bear Island is broken into different regions. Not like the playable regions in the game, but larger sections that make up the island. So far, we are familiar with Lower Great Bear, which was the core section of the island before the expansion, and the Far Territory, which was introduced with the expansion. The in-game world map, according to dialogue from Wintermute episodes 1 through 3, is oriented incorrectly. North is actually to the right of the world map. Logically, this would place this Up Island region to the far right of the world map. I would not be surprised if both Perseverance Mills and Port Mary are part of this region of the island. Up Island is only ever mentioned in this specific buffer memory. The first buffer memory shares a unique perspective of one of the core aspects of post-collapse Great Bear Island. We are seeing the mass exodus of Great Bear Island in action. Like Grandmother said, those that remained are either too poor or too proud to leave. Alternatively, Jeremiah said that anyone still on the island was likely hiding from something or someone. Regardless of their reason to stay or leave, everyone on the island was desperate after the collapse. The ships heading south towards the mainland are leaving Great Bear Island with the people that were too desperate to stay. I wonder if their direction of movement from north to south of the island is another indicator of the location of Port Mary, a port town from the game lore that I have long suspected to exist in the northern part of the island. The second buffer memory mentions a refinery, which sounds like a source of gasoline, propane, and other fuels. This buffer memory reveals this new aspect to Great Bear Island's economy. We can also see the mention of electric vehicles on the island. With shipping and the delivery of supplies and resources being so inconsistent, the steady increase in the use of electric vehicles makes sense. Electricity is already produced on the island. Whether the source is the Black Rock Dam or some other power source that we don't know about, electricity doesn't need to be shipped, making electric vehicles much more reliable. From the way she mentions this new trucker, it sounds like the mass exodus of the islanders to the mainland is having an effect on labor for the refinery and possibly all industry on the island. The final buffer memory for Barbara and the coastal highway region brings up one of the few methods of bartering following the hyperinflation of the Canadian dollar. Lumber, fishing, and hunting would be some of the remaining methods to earn a living and trade for goods following the collapse. With money being essentially worthless, most people would turn to any type of job that could produce products of value. With mining out of the picture at this point in time, lumber, fish, meat, and skins were valuable items for bartering for other foods and services. Barbara had a tree fall over on the garage and paid the workers that removed it with the tree itself. She also mentioned something about herself from her past. She used to work at an old plant of some kind on the mainland. Regardless of what the plant made, it seems that the island ways are unique and would be strange to mainlanders. As far as I can tell, These buffer memories are the only source of lore for the coastal highway region. They paint a good picture of the early days of post-collapse Great Bear Island, the signs of the island's population drop, the struggles to earn a living, and the difficulties of keeping supplies flowing. The mystery fisherman and Barbara give us some pretty unique perspectives and brand new information about Great Bear Island that I have not seen yet. The idea of this up-island section to Great Bear Island is new. At the very least, it includes this refinery responsible for delivering fuel sources to the islanders. I also do suspect that this is where Perseverance Mills and Port Mary are. We can also see signs of the fishing patterns in this time period, as well as a glimpse of the many islanders that would depart the island forever. The collapse was truly a death sentence for Great Bear Island, and these lore entries are some of the few from the early days of this period in the island's history. If you want to catch up on any lore I've already covered, you can check out all the various playlists for the history of the Long Dark, Wintermute, Rudiger's Project, the people and places of Great Bear Island, and the buffer memories. They will be linked in the description. If you enjoyed this lore video for the Long Dark, please don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep making them.